What if the difference between witnessing breathtaking wildlife moments and seeing absolutely nothing came down to just a few feet of where you choose to stand? Today you're about to unlock the secrets even expert trackers don't talk about. Welcome back, explorers. Today, we're diving deep into the insider secrets for choosing the perfect spot for animal observation. The same strategies biologists, wildlife photographers, and expert trackers use daily. This is more than just go where animals live. This is about reading landscapes, analyzing behavior, and understanding nature's patterns so clearly that animals practically reveal themselves. We'll count down from number 10 to number 1, and by the end, you'll be able to walk into the wild and know exactly where to position yourself for the best chance of spotting wildlife. Let's start with number 10. Number 10. Follow the edges where ecosystems meet. If there's one place in nature animals can't resist, it's edges, areas where two environments meet. Think of forest merging into meadow, riverbank meeting woodland, desert touching grassland. Why edges matter? Because they offer food, cover, and visibility all at once. Predators and prey are drawn to these areas for different reasons, but both show up, making edges absolute hotspots. For example, deer often graze in open fields but retreat to the shadow line of the forest when sensing danger. Predators like coyotes or foxes patrol these transition zones because prey frequently moves through them. When you're out in the wild, don't just look inside an environmental where two environments collide. That's where life gathers. Visual ideas for stock footage: aerial view of a forest meeting a field, an animal emerging from brushline, shadows along a tree line. Point 9. Number 9. Look for water sources, even small ones. Water is the number one magnet for all wildlife. But here's the real secret: the smaller the water source, the better. Lakes and large rivers are great, but they have too many access points. Animals can show up anywhere around them, but a tiny pond, a creek crossing, a narrow stream, those are bottlenecks. Animals are forced to approach them in predictable ways. Early morning and late afternoon are prime times, especially in dry environments. Animals hydrate before feeding and after resting. And here's another pro tip: look for muddy footprints or fresh tracks around water sources. They tell you exactly what species passed through and how recently. Visual ideas: footprints in mud, animals drinking at a watering hole, ripples on a quiet pond. 8. Number 8. Use natural cover. But don't hide too deep. Blending into your environment is important, but hiding too well can actually hurt your visibility. Professionals don't sit deep inside bushes or behind thick trees. Instead, they choose partial cover enough to break up their silhouette, but still allow a wide view. The trick is positioning yourself behind a tree but not hugging it, sitting low in tall grass but not buried in it, using shadows without disappearing completely. Why? Because wildlife responds more to shapes and movement than to colors. If your silhouette looks broken and you move slowly, animals often don't register you as a threat. This is also why many animals freeze. When they see a predator, they try to break their outline. You want to do the same. Visual ideas: a person behind partial cover, an animal peeking through vegetation, dappled light in a forest. 7. Number 7. Pay attention to wind direction. This one separates beginners from experts. Animals rely heavily on their sense of smell. If they catch your scent even from far away, the encounter is over before it begins. That's why you should always position yourself downwind of where you expect animals to appear. Downwind equals the wind is blowing toward you, not carrying your scent toward the animals. A simple test: wet your finger and hold it up. The cool side points to where the wind is coming from. If you plan to spend a long time in one spot, watch how the wind shifts during the day. Morning air often moves downhill, while warm afternoon air moves uphill. Understanding this pattern means you can stay hidden longer and observe more confidently. Visual ideas: wind blowing grass, an animal sniffing the air, powder drifting to show wind direction. Number 6. Find natural animal pathways, game trails. If you've ever walked through a forest and noticed a narrow, clear line cutting through the brush, you've just found one of the most valuable clues in animal observation: a game trail. These trails are like wildlife highways animals use repeatedly because they're efficient, safe, and familiar. Deer, foxes, boar, antelope, and even predators use these paths to navigate their territories. Here's the secret: most people miss. Animals don't choose these paths randomly. They're shaped by terrain, slope, food availability, escape routes, historical movement patterns. Once you're able to recognize these subtle trails, you can predict exactly where animals will appear. Look for crushed grass, repeated hoof marks, fur stuck on bark, smooth dirt patches, trails that connect water to feeding areas. The best observation spot: position yourself off to the side of the trail, not directly on it. Animals may avoid a path if they smell or see something unfamiliar blocking it. Let the trail be the guide, but don't sit right on top of it. Visual ideas: aerial shot of winding trails, boots stepping beside a narrow animal path, close-up of animal tracks in dirt. 5. Number 5. Choose higher ground for a wider field of view. This is a technique experts rely on but rarely mention. Elevation. Higher ground gives you an enormous advantage in wildlife. Observation because you can see animal movement over larger distances, paths and clearings, not visible from the ground. Changes in behavior. From a safe vantage point, predators naturally use elevated positions to scout prey, and you can borrow that strategy. But here's the nuance. You don't want to stand on the peak of a hill. Your silhouette will be obvious. Instead, position yourself slightly below the crest where you can see without being seen. Think of it like sitting behind nature's balcony rail. Benefits of elevated observation: better airflow and scent control, clearer sight lines, less noise from shifting vegetation, safer distance from wildlife, especially large mammals. If the landscape offers a rock outcrop, a gentle slope, or a small ridge, take advantage of it. Wildlife photographers often call these vantage sweet spots. Visual ideas: drone shot of a person on a hillside, mountain silhouettes, wide landscape, panoramas. 4 Number 4. Master the power of silence and stillness. Choosing the perfect observation spot doesn't stop at location. It also involves your behavior once you're there. Most beginners make the mistake of moving too much. They shift their weight, adjust their gear, check their backpack, or step on a twig, and suddenly, silence. Animals hear more acutely than we do, especially prey species, and in the wild, even small noises can signal danger. Silence isn't just about being quiet, it's about being unpredictable, noise-free. Here are pro techniques. Control your breathing. Slow, even breaths reduce upper body movement. Use slow motion movements. If you must move, do it centimeter by centimeter. Prepare your gear ahead of time. Loose buckles, dangling straps, and zipper sounds can ruin an opportunity. Choose soft ground. Moss, dirt, or leaf litter muffles sound better than gravel or dead branches. There's an old saying among trackers: the forest knows when you arrive, but it must forget you're there. Stillness lets you blend into the environment until animals accept your presence as part of the landscape. Visual ideas: a person sitting still in nature, close-up of quiet hands resting, slow breathing animations, animals calmly grazing. Number 3. Observe signs of life. Not just life itself, the wild leaves clues everywhere if you know how to read them. Professionals rarely rely on just hoping to see something. Instead, they look for activity indicators that reveal exactly where animals have been and where they're going. Here are the top signs to look for. Tracks: fresh prints mean recent movement. Sharper edges mean the animal passed by shortly. Scat: different species leave distinct droppings. Moist scat means recent presence. Broken branches or bent vegetation. Animals like elk or moose bend foliage without realizing it. Feather clusters indicate predator activity or molting areas. Scratches or rub marks: bears scratch trees to mark territory. Deer rub velvet off antlers. Sound: rustling leaves. Snapped twigs, soft calls, or distant warning cries are audio breadcrumbs. When you combine multiple signs, like fresh tracks and a recently disturbed bush, you're no longer guessing, you're analyzing. This is how you transition from a casual watcher to a true wildlife observer. You're not just looking at the world, you're reading it. And when you learn to interpret these signs, you'll always know the right place to wait. Visual ideas: hand tracing an animal track. Close-up of scat in soil, ruffled feathers, tree scratches, subtle movement in bushes. Number 2. Know the feeding patterns and timelines. One of the easiest ways to choose the perfect observation spot is by understanding when animals feed and where they prefer to do it. Most wildlife follows predictable feeding windows, usually early morning and late afternoon. During these times, animals move between bedding areas, feeding grounds, and water sources. Find the places where these paths overlap. Edges of meadows, open patches in forests, areas with fresh vegetation, spots with fruiting trees or shrubs. If you position yourself slightly downwind near a food source, you dramatically increase your chances of seeing animals just as they begin their routine. Nature runs on a schedule, and once you learn it, you'll always be in the right place at the right time.